be reporting about the safety standards, which includes the driving safety, mitigating collisions between vehicles and people. So the topics that will be discussed will include, next slide please, the most common collision types, traffic calming measures, signage and wayfinding, lighting or enhanced visibility, and crime prevention through environmental design.
Good
Next
morning.
slide.
Um, for this section, we will discuss the most common collision types or circumstances. Next slide, please. So the first collision type is collision between pedestrian and right-turning bus. This usually happens when the pedestrian darts out of parked cars or when they're crossing an intersection. Reduced visibility of pedestrians is one of the reasons why they may not be visible to the bus operator. This may be caused by blind spots, which obstructs the operator's view of a pedestrian, visual obstructions such as posts, vendors, and signages, and absence or lack of adequate street or crosswalk lighting. Next slide, please. The second type of collision is between the pedestrian and left-turning bus, which is somewhat the same with collision type 1. Their contributing factors are quite similar regardless of the pedestrian's position. This includes the reduced visibility of pedestrians is also one of the reasons why they may not be visible to the operator, the visual obstructions such as the post, vendor signages, and also the absence or lack of adequate street or crosswalk lighting. Next slide, please. A unique characteristic of this collision type is that operators not only have to scan for pedestrians before turning, but they also must watch for a gap on oncoming traffic before turning, which causes them to lose sight of pedestrians. The bus terminals must have a proper sense of separation of pedestrian flow and vehicular flow, their ingress and egress, so as not to mix up their flow and cause accidents and also inefficiency. Next slide, please. The third type of collision is collision with pedestrian when pulling into bus stops. This may be caused with crowded bus stop location, which includes a limited sidewalk space, sidewalk obstacles, and a large demand for the bus, pedestrians standing too close to the roadway, conflicts between intending passengers and passing pedestrians, limited or no lighting, and obstructions such as white columns, signage, limiting an operator's view of pedestrians. So the bus terminal stops should be level with buses and sidewalks to make boarding more accessible and fast. There must be ample space for the passengers to walk around. Space must be correlated with the expectancy of the crowd during peak hours also. Adequate street and crossing points, lighting, efficient and safe flow of pedestrians must be well separated from vehicular flow. Next slide, please. Fourth type of collision is bus pulling away from bus stops. Um, this may be caused by pedestrians chasing buses or lack of information about bus arrivals, reduced visibility also of pedestrians and sidewalk obstacles and maintenance. Next slide, please.
So our next topic is traffic calming measures. So it is a tool to combat speeding and other unsafe behaviors of drivers in the neighborhoods. So it aims to encourage safer, more responsible driving and potentially reduce traffic flow. So first off, we have speed inhibitors. So aggressive driving is a safety hazard for pedestrians. One method to safeguard individuals is to reduce the vehicle speed. Slower traffic speeds minimize chances of an accident. So both speed bumps and humps are beneficial in pedestrian zones to encourage cautious driving. And vertical traffic control barriers, such as speed bumps and speed humps, are physical bumps in the road that startle the occupants of a vehicle traveling too rapidly over them. So they are the most widely utilized traffic calming structural components. So first we have here the first type of traffic calming measure. We have lane narrowing. So narrow lanes reduce speeds and minimize crashes on city streets by way of reducing the right of way, making drivers wary of traffic and adjacent users. So it uses the additional space for pedestrian space, cycle facilities, or green infrastructure. So as you can see here in the image on the right side, the sides of the road is utilized as plant strips, parking areas, and wide sidewalks. So this makes the road much narrower than it usually was. And then next, we have the corner radii. So narrowing corner radii reduce vehicle turning speeds as well as pedestrian crossing distances. Minimizing the size of a corner radius is critical to create a safe and compact intersection. So since the turning radius is lesser than its original size, the drivers become more cautious whenever they make a turn. So this is the third type of traffic calming measure. So buildings and trees. Buildings at the right of way with articulated facades and windows indicate that the street is an urban environment and not a highway. So on the right side, trees are arranged in a repetitive manner, separating the road from the sidewalk. Next we have is the gateway treatments. So gateway treatments alert drivers that are entering a slower area. This treatment may include signage, entry portals, speed tables, raised crossings, and curb extensions. So these can be usually seen in the corners or the starting point of a street or a block. Next, we have the pinch points. So pinch points narrow the roadway at a mid-block point. They can be combined with speed tables to create high-quality pedestrian crossings. And they can also be used on low-volume two-way streets to require facing motorists to yield to one another. So on the right side, as you can see, this type of calming measure is found in the middle of a block or a street. So compared to gateway treatments, which can be seen at the start or the beginning. And moreover, only a portion of the street is being narrowed, unlike the lane narrowing type of traffic calming measure, which I introduced earlier. Next, we have chicanes and lane shifts. So chicanes and lane shifts use alternating parking and curb extensions or edge islands to form an S-shaped path of travel which lowers the vehicle speeds. So on the right side, you can see the clear S-shaped configurations. So this type of calming measure is not common in the Philippines in general. Next, we have the medians and refuge islands. So the raised center medians and pedestrian refuge islands can be used to reduce lane width for vehicles. Even on relatively narrow streets, they can also be used to organize traffic at intersections or to block access at strategic points. So we usually use this type of calming measure as resting areas whenever we cross the roads. Next, we have the mini roundabouts. So these are round islands at intersections that serve to both reduce speeds and organize traffic, routing vehicles around the island rather than directly across the intersections. So here in the Philippines, we don't usually make use of this type of calming measure. However, we make use of rotundas, which are much larger in size. Next, we have these speed humps. So these are formed by raising sections of road in a sinusoidal shape. So as you can see here, there's a curvature. These are typically 10 to 15 centimeters high and 4 to 6 meters long. So the dimensions can be tailored to match the target speed of the street, and they are typically constructed of the same material as the roadway but can be of different materials. So this type of calming measure can be used repetitively on a street or block at certain intervals, as you can see here. Next, we have speed cautions. So these are similar to speed humps, but have wheel cut out openings to allow large vehicles like buses to pass unaffected while reducing the car speeds. So as you can see in the picture, the speed cautions are much narrower in width, as you can see here, and the wheels of the buses and motorized vehicles remain in the flat area or the sides of the cushions, especially those vehicles which have really kind of wide dimension. So smaller cars they usually just pass through this one in the curvature. Next.
Okay, so next we have speed tables. So speed tables are similar to speed humps but have a flat top, typically 6 to 9 meters long. So when speed tables are combined with pedestrian crossings at the intersection or mid-block, they are called raised crossings. So as you can see here, the flat tops, those can be used as pedestrian streets, so where people can pass. And you can actually see this in front of the country club near Ayala. So we actually have this one also. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, next we have pavement materials and appearance. So pavement appearance can be altered through unique treatments that add visual interest, such as colored or patterned stamped asphalt, concrete, or concrete pavers, which can be used to make other traffic calming techniques more noticeable to drivers. Pedestrian crossings and intersections can be painted to highlight crossing areas. So you can again see this in the speed table near Ayala, where they actually like use like a brick pattern on for the pedestrian crossing. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, diverters. Diverters and other volume management strategies such as restricted movement and restricted access strategies help in reducing motor vehicle volumes and speeds. So motor vehicle volumes, reduced traffic volume significantly impact cyclist comfort. So this is just for inclusivity. So we can also provide safety for the cyclists as well. Okay, next. Next, we have signal progression. So signals time to cycle and transit-friendly speeds can reduce motorists' incentive to speed and can create lower and safer speeds along a corridor. Okay, next, please. Okay, next we have bollard poles. A bollard is a short post that serves as a defensive or architectural boundary. They guide traffic and physically block vehicle entry, effectively safeguarding people and property found on the other side of the posts. So bollards may be manufactured out of nearly any material depending on its intended use, but the most frequent ones are metal, stone, cement, and plastic. And it's not preferable to use wood just because it's not good for impact. Most likely, people use cast iron, and you can usually see these in airports as well. So, yep. Next slide, please. Okay, signage and wayfinding. So, drivers and other road users benefit from the information presented on traffic signs. So, signages are considered laws to keep both drivers and pedestrians safe. And they help to communicate messages to drivers and pedestrians so that order can be maintained and accidents can be avoided. Okay, next slide. So importance of wayfinding signs. Every transit stop must have clear, readable information describing the routes. Now the system becomes more appealing and easier to use by providing clear and straightforward information, such as route and system maps, timetables, projected travel times, real-time arrival timings, and riding processes. So by providing proper signages, users will experience less confusion, thus avoiding potential accidents. So, signages must explicitly mark loading and unloading zones, so they must be present to alert pedestrians of a bus crossing or vehicle traffic. They should warn drivers of upcoming speed bumps. They must notify drivers of one way streets, notify drivers of dead end alleyways, and also notify drivers to clearly mark available or unavailable parking spaces in order to keep everyone safe and much more convenient as well. Okay, next slide. So here's a great example of a bus signage sign. So the top part you can see right there, it's bright, eye-catching, and you can also see the branding of every sign and also the routes serving this certain stop. Also some additional info, so they put like their phone number there, their website, They also put their route schedules, so you can see that there on the pinaka left side, the 117. So they have the schedules there, and also like if the let's say the bus is highly advanced, so they go online. They have a mobile service, so you can scan the QR code and all that, and they also have the pricing for the fares. And in addition, we couldn't really find a sign that does this with all these complete information, but it's much more preferable if you also put if the bus stop is PWD friendly or not. Yeah. Okay. Next, we have the yield to bus sign. So, when a bus with a yield to bus sign activates its left turn signal to announce its desire to re enter the traffic flow, cars arriving from behind must slow down or stop to enable the bus to re enter the traffic flow unless it is hazardous to do so. So, abiding by the signages ensure drivers that they do not get caught in a bad spot and improves the traffic behind the bus, thus minimizing accidents. So these signs can either be found on the bus itself at the back, so like the butt of the bus, or sidewalk for drivers to see. Okay, so here are some examples of the positioning of the signages within a bus sign. So we didn't really go much into detail with this. We just put a picture because we we didn't think that this was gonna be much part of our topic, which is safety. It's just like extra information. Okay, next slide, please.
So next we have is the lighting or enhanced visibility. We have the roadway lighting arrangements, interior lighting, and types of lighting. Lighting is used Lighting is used to ensure road visibility, safety, to prevent dark areas, and to discourage criminal activities. Next slide, please. So there are four types of roadway lighting arrangement. The first one is single-sided arrangement, in which all luminaires are located on one side of the road and shall be used when the road width is less than or equal to the mounting height. So in the picture in the right, you can see like the yellow lines there. Those are the arrangements of the street lights. Next slide, please. The second one is the staggered arrangement, in which the luminaires are placed alternately on each side of the road in a zigzag manner or a staggered fashion. It shall be used when the road width is equal to 1 or 1.5 times of the mounting height. You can see at the right side again is how it looks like. Next slide, please. The third one is the opposite arrangement, in which the luminaires are placed directly opposite and facing each other along the road, and it shall be used when the road width is more than 1.5 times the mounting height. So here's the example. Okay, next slide, please. Next is the twin central arrangement. This is like the last roadway lighting arrangement, in which the luminaires are mounted on a T shape like mass in the middle of the center of the island of the road. It shall be used when the road width is like less than or equal to the mounting height. Next slide. So for the interior lighting, the picture you can see there is like an example of a roof shelter design. It shows not only how to protect the users from the weather, but it also shows how to maximize natural lighting for the interior lighting. So you can see there is a sufficient roof overhang to protect the users from the weather, such as rain and the harmful UV rays, especially in the day when it's really hot. You have to really protect the users from the UV rays. Then, second is to provide roofing on the pedestrian areas. Third is to provide adequate opening to allow hot air and air pollution to naturally flow out, especially na this is the bus terminal, so there's gonna be a lot of air pollution and it's gonna be really hot. Then fourth is to provide abundant interior and exterior lighting for clear sight to prevent accidents and criminal activities. Openings through roof profiles will help bring in more natural lighting into the area or building. Next slide. Next slide.
We have here the bus terminal lighting, which performs functions related to nighttime safety, security orientation, and the illumination of features. The following slides will present the types of the bus terminal lighting with details on their usability areas specific to the different functions performed in the terminal. Next slide, please. The first type of lighting is the continuous lighting, which is the most common type of security lighting installed in bus terminals. This consists of a series of fixed lights arranged continuously to light interior or exterior areas during hours of darkness. This can be used around the building perimeter, pedestrian pathways, vehicle approaches, or property boundaries. Next slide, please. Second is the standby lighting, similar to continuous lighting in layout, except that these are not continuously lit. They are turned on either automatically when activity is detected in the area or manually. Standby lighting should use instant on lighting lamps. Next slide, please. Third one is the mobile lighting. These are manually operated and movable, may supplement continuous or standby lighting. This can be used at special events and in emergencies during hours of darkness. Next slide. We have here a table that classifies terminal lighting types according to their usability areas. Critical infrastructure access points will have continuous and mobile lighting. Fair gate and kiosk will have standby and mobile lighting. Parking lot open area will have the standby lighting, which are the street lights. The waiting area down to platform inside canopy will have both standby and mobile lighting and the rest. Next slide, please.
Okay, so for the crime prevention through environmental design, basically, this is just a collective result of a good design as of the city and at the bus terminal itself. So, um, for the this includes good urban planning, which is for the city as a whole, effective lighting, which was just discussed, the barrier-free circulation, enhanced visibility, the signage, integrated commercial activities to avoid dark or inactive corners. So, next slide, please. Um, this the collision. I will just add up to the collision types, and I'll just make some recommendations based on the research on how to prevent those collision types. Next slide, please. Okay, so for in the instance that a bus turns on the right or left, there is a um, okay. So when a pedestrian, sorry, sir, I was
Okay,
lost. So it may appear that the pedestrian, it may appear to the pedestrian that the bus will move straight or move or turn left or right. There's a possibility that the pedestrian will directly cross the crosswalk, will turn to the crosswalk, and this will lead to a collision. So in order to reduce that, we should enhance the visibility of the bus operator. So next slide, please. This includes keep the intersection and sidewalks clear of obstructions to improve the line of sight of the bus operators, then make crosswalks more noticeable through crosswalk enhancements. Use split mirrors, large convex mirrors, and mirrors in which the height could be adjusted. Install tactile strips, and then implement public education and outreach campaigns to educate pedestrians about important issues. Next slide, please. So for, okay, next slide. This includes katong left turning and right turning of buses. Next slide, please. Okay, in this section, when the this is an incident when the bus stops. So the primary contributing factor to reported for collisions when a pedestrian when pulling into bus stops was crowded bus stops due to a large demand for the bus, limited sidewalk space, and sidewalk obstacles. Crowd bus stop locations can lead to various problems, including pedestrians standing too close to the roadway as the bus arrives at the stop, pedestrian pushing as the bus arrives at the stop, or conflicts between intending passengers and passing pedestrians. All of these situations can result in a pedestrian accidentally making contact with the bus in or near the roadway as the bus is pulling into the stop. Next slide, please. So, yes, again, to remedy this kind of incidents, it we should improve the visibility of the bus operators. Next slide, please. Ay, kanina sir na-discuss na ni siya kaganina with them. And that's it for here.
Okay, good. So let's see here. Just a few questions. I like the fact, Murag, you added images to the text. So the text, where's the text from? Katong sa last part. Katong mention ni Dara na mention na sa earlier slides. Ano siya? Yeah. Where is this from?
You mean the sources, sir?
Ang source ani. Say pangan sa source.
Um, ano siya, sir? Bus terminal design guideline siya sa India.
Okay. Can I ask for a copy of that? This looks
Yes.
like very interesting. Anyway, Asato, so the earlier ones with the collision, the left turning, etc., etc. So I think it's very straightforward, very well done. You highlighted that. So these are more operations within the terminal, also outside the terminal. Outside the terminal, we don't have much power on that. If you really want to, I may allow you to like include traffic calming measures outside the terminal, but in actual practice, we don't have any sort of jurisdiction outside of our site. But it's good to know that those things exist, and you can also apply it inside the bus terminal. And then katong traffic calming measures about the trees. Could you go to that slide? There. Oh, I know it's a bit more back, but okay. Yeah, just make sure the trees are arranged in a way that you can see the street so that it doesn't block like visibility from the street to the road, like the sidewalk, I mean. So make sure the trees don't block the sidewalk. Okay, this is nice. Thank you for the PDF. And then next one is katong, what's this? Traffic calming could be done on the same public road. Okay. Oh, yeah. I put a note here on my end. Like the traffic calming measures could be done on the SM side because like I think in the scenarios like we're working for SM. But if you really want to as well, you can apply it on the public road, pero it will be difficult. It will basically be impossible in real life, but you can suggest something. So you can really include architecture and urban design because we're also having that class this sem. Next, could we go to the signages? It was like just shown. Bro, I would like to have a high resolution copy of that. Next one. Next one. That one. So this is what I was talking about, trying to find in the previous presentations. Like how tall should the signages be? Where should they be? Like in relation to the person walking inside the terminal. Like you see the one over the head, you see the one like in the waiting areas, etc., etc. So if you give me the source for this, that would be great. Okay, thank you. I got it. Well, I'll also discuss this in my presentation on Friday. Okay, nice. Nice, nice, nice. So the power of research. And then over here, yeah, that's pretty much it. 1.5 the times of, sorry. Okay, so there's just notes for myself. Gulisav had 7 minutes, Lim had 4 minutes, Omo had 6 minutes, you had 7 minutes, and Tingal had 4 minutes. So this won't affect your grade. This is just like something to know now. This is how much you talked during the presentation. So very good presentation. I don't have any much questions. The sources are also very well done, very well researched, and